I'd love to welcome you to jump into creative problem solving, which is going to be shared with us with the amazing Tony Billoni, who has done everything at CPSI. Everything. This session is automatically closed captioned. If you look on the bottom, there should be a live transcript, CC. If you don't want to see the closed captioning, you hit that little caret next to it and it will hide the subtitles. If you want to see the whole thing, you can get full transcript. It will change how your screen looks just to let you know ahead of time. And or you can change the size of the font, but that's all on there on the bottom of your screen. So without further ado, I will turn the time over to the fantabulous Tony.
Wow, thank you so much. I am so excited to be here. This is about my 22nd or 23rd CPSI. And as Beth said, I've done a lot of work at CPSI over the years. And I'm also a graduate of the International Center for Studies in Creativity, the School of Applied Imagination that we're changing into now. And this is a big part of my life. Creativity, like many of us on this call, has changed my life. And I'm really happy to be sharing it with you in some of the ways that I learned it as well. And we're going to have some fun with it. But I'd like to just say the word of this session, if you will, is open. And we'll get into more of that, but just tuck that in the back of your head. And as Sid liked to say, I want you to incubate on that word. So forget I even said it. And the opposite of what the pilot tells you right now is I want you to unbuckle your seatbelt. And let's get into this. A little about me. That was taken last week. And we celebrate Christmas in early June. That's me in the middle. My background is in creativity, leadership, training, and coaching. I have, as you see on the bottom, Apex Leader Growth. And I'm passionate about bringing all of these traits and qualities to people to help them get better faster, because I don't think that things like creativity and leadership are really hard to learn and appropriate tools. They just need a good guide. And a lot of people on this call are facilitators. They know the story. Learn it and then maybe find a facilitator to help you through it. It's a good way to do it. So what's going to happen today, I'm going to give you just a very brief touch on what we mean when we talk about deliberate creativity and this creative problem solving process. And we're going to have CPSI meeting the big bad wolf from the Little Red Riding Hood story. And while we're doing that, I will talk a little bit about the foundation tools that drive the CPS process. And you'll understand that creative problem solving, the acronym is CPS. And then we're going to do a little CPS re-experience to just give you a little hands-on brainstorming. And there's going to be a tiny one coming up in just a little bit, thanks to a last-minute request from Ms. Beth Slazak. So let's just jump right in. And I want to take just a couple surveys. So if you could put up the first survey, I'd like to get from everybody on the call, and what do we have, about 60, 70 people so far? 50 people so far. Just answer this question. And you have three choices. If you could put up the first survey, who's creative? I'm very creative, I'm a little creative, and not at all. So let's go. And it might be a little different on this call. Well, great. We're getting a lot of very creative people. I would expect that. but we're still getting into the 30s, a little creative. We got a few more to come in, a few more. We'll close in just a few seconds. I think we're kind of set here, that we still have a third of people saying that they're a little or not at all. But congratulations to those of you who are very creative. I think I know each and every one of you. I'm going to end this poll because the next question is going to be a little more telling. I want you to, do I just click out of this? Okay, so let's put up the next one. And I want you to say, answer this yes or no. Do you have imagination? One person doesn't. Well, stick around for the next 3 weeks. I think your answer may change. That was really easy to answer, it seemed like. Well, the interesting part about this is that people are most people outside of CPSI world at our center are a lot lower on the very creative line. But just about everybody agrees they have imagination. And what you just heard me say is that we're changing the name of our center at Buffalo State to the Center for Applied Imagination, because that's the title of one of the best known books about our work by our founder, Alex Osborne. So we could get rid of this poll and let's just see what happens here. This guy here with the glasses, who looks like everybody's grandfather, is Alex Osborne. And he wrote many books actually leading up to what became the seminal text of our work called Applied Imagination. And they're basically saying that it's applying your imagination that leads you to become a creative person. He really pulled apart the notion that only certain people are creative. The artists are creative. The inventors are creative. It's everybody that is learning to use their imagination. And he wrote a bunch of books before he got to Applied Imagination that touted that. He's an advertising executive. If any of you know the agency that still exists today, BBD&O, he's the O. He's from Buffalo. So here's my proud moment. I'm in Buffalo right now, and brainstorming was invented in Buffalo. Woo, woo, woo! And by teaching it, the challenge for Alex was that he was an executive. He didn't know how to turn this stuff into courses, into teaching it. And at the very first Creative Problem Solving Institute in 1954, we're coming up on that anniversary, a young guy from Pittsburgh, that's this fella here, Dr. Sid Parnes, came to the first institute because he heard about it. He read it in the back of some magazine, and it changed his life. The short story is within 2 years, he left Pittsburgh and became Alex's partner and completed Alex's dream of turning this notion of making the process more deliberate by teaching it and creating an actual process. That was Sid's job, and Sid made it happen. And then Sid went on. We have Joette Field here today from the earliest days of the center, Hedria. And the center at Buffalo State College became the first school to start offering courses in deliberate creativity. Psychologists in the late 50s and early 60s just saying, what are you guys doing? You're completely on the wrong track. We have to study people who are creative. There's no way you could do this. And it was incredible, the resistance that they found, but they finally proved it. They did longitudinal studies. They got into the science of it and showed that if you teach people these methods, years later, they will be still able to be greater productive in creative output. Does anybody remember what the word of this session is? If you do, put it in the chat. We're going to get to that in a minute. So our definition of creativity is, we're going a little too creative here, output that is novel and useful. So restating it in the language of what you might hear in an organization, is that when meeting a challenge, we seek lots of previously unthought of possibilities. There's novel, that are viable, useful in the time the solution must be operational. We hear lots and lots of stories about how the windshield wiper was invented before it became mass produced. The fax machine was around for years. Lots of products are around, but companies aren't interested so much in creativity that is interesting, but how do we use it? We also have methods that you'll see in this process that will ask those questions as you start to go from I have a problem to, oh, here's my solution, to how might we use this and how might we make it operational. So we go from there to what came from an initial linear method of several steps, 6 steps, with the word finding after all of it, which was Sid's idea that we're always finding ideas, solutions, implementations to what is held today as the most up-to-date version of our process. And it's a 4-stage process. There's 6 steps inside these 4 stages that we'll actually go through. But you'll notice that it's in an arrow. These arrows encourage you to notice that it's a cyclical process. And I was just talking about a book that Sid wrote earlier, and he was even showing that rather than using the word cyclical, he used the word that it's an oscillating process. The point is that you're not done. You go from clarify to implement to ideate to develop and implement, and you're not done being creative when you implement, because I like to tell my clients that you really just have a theory of your solution when you get to your action plan. You're still sitting in a room, you're still looking at sheets of paper, you might have a prototype laying around, but when you get into the real world, let's see how that theory really works. And there's a lot, how many times have you tried something and say, well, it didn't quite come out the way we wanted. We have some steps to try and prevent more and more of that, but you can never prevent everything because you don't know what happens in the real world before it happens. We haven't figured that one out yet. So you are encouraged to go back in. And if you need to clarify again, if you need more ideas, if you need to make a stronger solution, if you need to get more steps in your implementation plan, we're telling you to keep this nearby, to keep your energy and word of the day, openness, going. What drives us through those 6 steps, 4 stages is 2 very important concepts. And I would say these sit at the very foundation of the tools and energies that we use. And one is divergent thinking, and the other is convergent thinking. Let me just step back for a second. So in divergent thinking is, I like to say that if you've heard, just put your hand up, or that you say, we got to get our arms around this problem. Think about that for a second, because that is, divergent is going out this way with your arms, and then coming back in this way is convergent. So to be divergent, one of the basis of it is that we defer judgment. We hold off. Whether we think an idea is bad, funny, silly, embarrassing, weird, unworkable, won't pass muster, won't be approved. Everything is opportune, and even if it's good, we defer that judgment, because good ideas tend to crimp all the rest of the ideas. So we want to just keep it very level. So by deferring judgment, we can get an exciting flow of ideas. I've often heard that if your best idea is your only idea, you're in trouble. So you got to get lots of ideas, and that's where you're going for quantity at the bottom here. You tend to get a lot of ideas by looking at ideas that others have produced and connecting your thoughts to those to build on it, make connections. And finally, with a good facilitator, or as you get more and more experienced, you get more habitual in truly seeking novelty. Sid and others have talked about rule of thirds, that you tend to put in your first third of idea generation everything you were just thinking about, everything that was going on in your day. Your second third is you're trying to be creative and trying to be different, but it's still kind of connected to the world as it is. And it's not until you really kind of get into a groove, a state of flow, that you get to this third third of truly novel ideas. So you have a wall full of Post-its and ideas. What do? You just grab one and run with it? Well, not quite. With convergent thinking, we have a whole another process that allows us to be deliberate and I would say be a little slower in choosing. And what you do is look at these four qualities, is that you continue to remain affirmative. And I'll say that studies will show that a lot of the work of Sid and Alex and creativity and creative problem solving is very much in the world of positive psychology. And you stay affirmative. You say these can work. My original problem can be solved because I turned it into a question and I'm answering these questions. And stay focused and checking your objectives. What is the criteria that's going to make this work in the real world? You're already starting that piece. And the other interesting point is that you tend to move away from novelty because habitually we're always trying to keep our habits out in front of us. And this is a place where we tend to ask you to relax your habits, stay open. And so you might find novelty in all the weird ideas on the divergent side, and then you quickly ignore them on the convergent side. We tend to, as facilitators, ask people, if that idea has any spark to you, even the smallest one, keep it and see where it goes. It might lead you to something very interesting. And so these are the basis of it. I'd say, why don't we just take a minute and let's see how we're doing here. We're kind of right on time here. And I got a request right at the beginning of the session. You may not know this, but Beth Slazak is actually very, very, very high up in the world of the Avengers. So high up, they don't even talk about her. But only at CPSI is she allowed to reveal her true self as the Mama-san of the Avengers. And they're a little worried. You know, they had their whole movie series kind of come to an end. So what now? You know, so they need a new superhero. And Beth asked me, she said, I think we're going to have about 60 or 70 people here. Maybe they can help us if you show them a little bit about Diverge and Converge. And we're just going to do a little quick Diverge here in the chat. So what I'd like you to do is get your fingers ready. Remember to stay open and defer judgment. And I want you to start typing in all the qualities of a superhero that you think we should pay attention to, because Beth is going to be the client and the converger here. And she's going to look through all your answers. So let's see what we can come up with in the chat. Starting now, let's see what ideas. I'm seeing some great stuff. Oh, you got must be a woman, brave, relentless, humble. What like extraterrestrial powers could this person have? They're from Minneapolis, Minnesota. Or maybe they should be mind reader, loyal, compassionate, strength, flexible. What do they look like? Are they really? Do they look like a human? Do they look like a machine? Are they both? Are they everything? Power, snow shoveling, spandex. Cape, no cape, mask, no mask, dual identity. They have a real female body, girl power, ethereal. How about their age? Are they 0? Are they 1,000? Are they been around forever? Human feeling. I see Beth smiling. She's getting lots and lots of ideas, and she is going to instantly converge on this as they go along. She's just literally pulling ideas out of this feed. Yoda size, 41, someone said. They look like Anthony. Okay, I'll take that. These glasses are magic, by the way. Have vulnerability, friendly, ability to morph. And look at how you're just flowing through these ideas. How's that feeling for you while you're doing it too? I know I always get a nice rush when I get into the frame of just flowing with ideas. Can talk to concrete. Love that. Oh, and here I am judging, sorry. Pure energy, adaptable, accepting, athletic. What I'm saying is great output. Smash. Someone had page 17 open of the Avengers there. Can transform into animals, make magic potions. Do they have a catchphrase? Do they have a slang? Do they have a name? What is their name? Can morph into anything. Fixes gender inequality. Great output, great output. How you feeling, Mama San Avenger? You thinking you got enough ideas that you...
I've got some fantastic stuff here.
Do you want a couple more maybe? We're doing pretty good actually.
Ooh, yeah. So I converged to 5 and I can converge down to 3 depending on what you want.
Why don't you share all 5 of them in the chat if you want? And then maybe from those 5, we could have people brainstorm on a name. Ooh. Time, the past and future are no issue. It's a team, can erase poverty, immune to COVID, immune to all things. Okay, what did Beth? Compassionate, brave, humble, glittery, striped. Any like beyond human powers that you noticed that were exciting and you want to plug in even, and maybe these are all powers in and of themselves, that compassionate, brave, and humble. And I think glittery is a pretty exciting superpower. I would say that superhero also has the power that when he sprays people with glitter, they're not going to be annoyed. How about that one?
That would in fact be a superpower to do that.
So we have a superhero that Mama San Beth picked. Compassionate, brave, humble, glittery, striped. How about one last brainstorm of a name? Biodegradable glitter, thank you. And the glitter is environmentally friendly, of course. Any throws of names? Let's get one last up. Are you having a moment here, Mama San?
I am, because the 2 powers that I really thought were necessary were being able to talk to concrete and erase poverty. And so the glitter, when it's spread, turns into edible plants.
Ooh.
Even on concrete, because I can tell the concrete to let the glitter seeds grow.
Here's a name, Glitter Gardener. Primo. Well, maybe we'll come back and ask for a few more names. These are we have 2 names so far. Maybe we'll get a few more names at the end. Glitterfly, I love it. And I love there's a little lag there, and you facilitators always know what that pregnant pause is when you first ask for that first idea. And my don't litter glitter is to just wait, and your Conpov. Okay, good work, everybody. Invisibeing, Concreto. Well, let's just, Sipsy girl. All right, let's just take a second and in the chat, give me a couple of words about what it felt like throwing these ideas out there.
Glitter.
Freeing, energizing, fun. Silliest concrete idea stuck. Well, welcome to Sipsy. Hard at first, sometimes easier when there are more guidelines. We'll be talking about that in just a bit. Encouraging. I love all these comments about hopeful. That really, many of us on the call had the honor and pleasure of being around Sid and B. Parnes And if there was any person more hopeful on this planet, I haven't found him or her yet. Sid would be, when he was at his happiest, he was reduced to tears. That's how happy this guy could get. And he was just so hopeful about anybody that would come in contact with him. And I mean, here it is. I don't know many of you, and I just said, I know that they're going to come up with some ideas in just a few moments. And here you are, you fed off the ideas of others. It's silly. Yeah, thank you. Interesting to combine thoughts. Well, thank you, everybody. That was really powerful. So let's just get into a really brief walkthrough of these steps. And I'm going to give you a caveat that walking through this is not like really training in it or learning in it. It takes, we have a session in the fall that we really walk you through this. But what it's as much from a set of instructions as it is a mind shift. That's what's really important for us to notice. But hopefully this walk across the top of it will show you how it flows. And going from those 4 stages that I shared, clarify, ideate, develop, and implement. And I'd like to thank my good friend, Susan Newhouse, who is a CPSI fellow. I actually designed this story about the big bad wolf, but Susan created these really, really excellent slides. So within the clarify stage, there's 3 steps: exploring the vision, where we're identifying our goal, wish, or challenge. We're gathering data, where we explore everything, facts, feelings, assertions, lies, truths, everything. And formulate challenges, where we create our first question from a wish to a question about this purpose, a question to answer. And then we add the ideas. We generate ideas. You know, the first part of ideation is where most everybody considers the entire process of facilitation of ideas. Just generate lots of ideas. Okay, that was great. Now what do we do? Well, we generate the ideas, we converge on the ideas, and that turns into a solution. And do we walk out then? No, we don't. We want to strengthen that solution, formulate the solution, develop it, and we ask questions to say things like, what do we love about it? What will it do? We throw more criteria at it to make sure that we think we can walk out the door and do something with it, and then we formulate the plan. And the interesting thing to note is that the diverge and converge steps are used every step of the way. Every one of these uses diverging and converging. So let's get right into it. So here is the case study where our friend, the big bad wolf, came to us with the problem that he was never able to eat Little Red Riding Hood. He was getting kind of hungry. So he thought maybe we could ask him. So we said, well, let's explore the vision, Red. And we said, what do you wish for? He said, I wish I could have Red for dinner. I wish the woodsman would find another woods. I wish Granny weren't so heavy. I wish I could find a new place to trick Red. I wish I could find a new way to trick Red. I wish I could make Red believe I'm her friend. I wish I could think of something easier to eat. It could be great if I could get someone to make me dinner. I wish I could share my meal with a friend. So then we used a tool that we call the 3 eyes, where we had the wolfman look across all these challenges, these wish statements he wrote out, and said, well, where do you have the most influence? What is most important to you? And where would you like the most imagination? So we had him check that the influence was, he felt he had the most influence in the middle. He felt that all of these were important, but the one he wanted the most imagination around was, I wish I could think of something easier to eat. And if you're noticing what's going to happen here, is a bit of a transformation. That what the problem he walked in the door with was, I never get to have Little Red Riding Hood for dinner. He's starting to open himself up to new ideas, new possibilities, to getting to a solution that will meet his real intent. So we go from there to, what do we know about that? We put this problem at the top of the wish at the top of the page. I wish I could think of something easier to eat. So we gather the data. What do we know about this? I like to eat meat. If I don't eat meat, I'll die. If I don't eat, I'll die. I don't even know what red tastes like. I have been successful in tricking Red. The woodsman really upsets me. I'd like to dine with others occasionally. Granny gets heavier each time I stuff her in the closet. I'd like to not risk death each time I want to eat. I'm very hungry. I'm not that smart. I try and eat anyone who gets close to me. I can't eat the woodsman. The woodsman is stronger and smarter than me. I smell delicious food at Granny's. Red seems like a pretty nice girl. So here, if you're noticing that these thoughts go in every direction, and a good facilitator will encourage that. And you heard me mention it earlier that it's not just the facts, ma'am. It's, what are you feeling about this thing? And here he's saying that I feel the woodsman is stronger. Red seems like a nice girl. I haven't been successful. He's having some reality checks. I'm not that smart. He's admitting things to himself that maybe are challenging and hard. But what it's doing is opening up the reality of his challenge to a broader perspective. And from these facts, he starts to then take the statement from I wish to, I'll get to that in just a moment. Clustered the facts together. He was ready to formulate the challenge. Let's look at how he clustered these facts. We took all the facts on the previous page and put them in categories. All the ones around food had to do with diet. I like meat, what Red tastes like, Granny's food, keeping alive. I'd like to not risk death. I'm very hungry. I'm not that smart. And the different personalities haven't been successful in fooling Red. The woodsman, Granny. So he's starting to really tease the problem into dimensions, dimensionality, further opening it up to looking at it through different lenses, different points of view, and wondering what might this lead to. So when you make a challenge, you're turning your wish statement into a question. And what question doesn't inspire answers? But you really want to be a little more inspirational, because you're working against the tide of your own impressions, your own feelings about this, your own habits. It won't, I don't have a solution, so why would any solution work? It won't work. It'll be tough. I have to do something different. I'll have to do something more. So you want to create a question that has some level of inspiration to it. So we use these technique called stems. We write the wish statement into a question beginning with how to, which is abbreviated as H2. How might I, or how might we, HMI or W? In what ways might I? IWWMI. I rarely use that one, but and what you're trying to do is seek that broad view that you saw coming out when he clustered those facts into themes. He's already beyond just saying, I need to eat, I need Red to eat, I need to have Red for dinner, to, well, there's all these personalities. There's these facts about my diet. There's these facts about my survival. It's broader. The question should sort of take in that broader view. And you want to try and build some boldness into it. And there must be a verb that says it's going to lead to some type of action, and avoid using what might come out as just a single idea. And a good facilitator will notice that and say, well, how might I get a new diet? Well, that's just a single thought idea. And when you just say get a new diet would be an idea to plug into what might be an actual broader question that will inspire lots of ideas. So he came up with not one, but several questions. And that's how we continue to open the door to opportunity and better outcomes. So he started to play with that with the help of our facilitators, and he came up with all these how might I statements. How might I develop a different diet? How might I outwit and outlast the woodsman? How might I get Granny to cook for me? How might I learn to not eat everyone that comes near me? How might I get Red to help me eat? How might I get Granny, Red, and the woodsman to be my friends? How might I get other wolves to share their food? How might I use other wolves to get my dinner? How might I pay for my food? So as you're seeing, again, lots and lots of new dimensions leading toward what might be, as opposed to just going after Red Riding Hood. And he then, again, used the 3 eyes tool to explore these ideas. And what he came up with that struck me the most, or struck him the most, was how might I get Red to help me to eat? He was kind of leaning on that idea that Red seemed like a nice person. And he wondered if he could change himself enough to maybe find a way to build a connection with Red. So now he got to explore ideas. And he accepted that his initial challenge statement is, how might I get Red to help me to eat? And these are the ideas that came out. Make her my friend, don't lie to her. Bring Granny and Red flowers, compliment Granny, offer to be their helper, offer to teach Red about the forest, promise the woodsman to not eat Granny, offer to let the woodsman be a chaperone when we're together, offer them something of value, start a theme restaurant, hunt something I can catch, read books on new diets, have a spiritual conversation. You could see the breadth and width of these ideas. He was being as open as he could to come up with looking at this from several different dimensions. And let's see how he converged on these ideas. So again, we tend to go through the wall of ideas, and in real world, these sessions take anywhere from a couple hours to a few days, depending on the depth and complexity of the challenge. So he then picked some ideas and he themed them like he did with his data, and came up with 4 themes: a business deal, assistance, a new food source, and protection. Let's start on the right. Protection is there. He would promise the woodsman not to eat Granny or Red, offer the woodsman to chaperone. The new food source is hunt something else I could catch. New diets, help them, be a helper, teach Red about the forest, and a business deal. Make her my friend, don't lie to her. Compliment Granny on her cooking, so he maybe gets to have some of that. Offer something of value to them, and start a theme restaurant with Granny and Red. So from there, he starts to move to what is the beginning of his solution. He goes from that statement of the challenge, a bold statement, to potential solution statements. And you move from how might I, or how to, or in what ways might we, in what ways might I, to what I see me doing, what I see us doing, what we see us doing is. And notice the dynamic difference from wish to how might I to you're beginning to now determine your outcome. And notice I just said the word beginning. So he was leading on these ideas of getting other wolves to help me to eat, befriending Granny and Red, proving to Woody I'm okay, going vegan, starting a theme restaurant with Granny. And notice how he morphed the ideas from his ideation session into new solutions. He built them from the themes that he teased the ideas apart into groups and came up with these 5 ideas. So from there, you then take your solution to a new level. You look at whatever solution you choose, and we're going to get to that in just a moment, through the lens of what do we like about it, pluses, what will it do for us, potentials, and that again is where you can plug in criteria, and concerns. What concerns us about it? What's in the way? What don't we know that we still think we should know, or what worries us, or who's gonna stand in the way of us? It's a powerful exercise, and this is what it looks like. So what he ended up trying to play on was what I see myself doing is starting a theme restaurant with Granny and Red. And for potentials, he says, well, they'll be my friends. I won't have to do all the work. I won't be chased by the woodsman, and I'll be hunting for things I can catch. Potentials, it might develop my savvy business sense. I'm a sly fox. I'm a sly wolf. It might become as big as McDonald's. It could make us rich. It might make us, allow us to move out of the forest. And what about his concerns? How might I convince Granny and Red I'm sincere and to go along with me? How might I get something to eat before I starve to death? And how might I get Granny to cook my meals? And then what you do from concerns is answer each of these in a mini problem solving like we just did in the previous steps. For a portion of everything I catch, suck it up and eat some plants, bring Granny a present. So he went through that plus potential concerns and overcoming concerns process that leads him to what he sees himself doing now. Now what I see myself doing, and you can put the now anywhere you want, is working to make Granny, Red, and the Woodsman my friends and future business partners in a fairy tale themed restaurant. So I'd say it's a little different than how might I best eat Red, but the work isn't over yet. We need to go back. I'm going to go back to that 1 second. So we need to go back to this solution intent, a statement, a theory, as I said early on this morning, and say, well, how do we do it? What do we do about it? The first thing we do is pull out the diverge and converge, and we think of all the possible actions we should take, every possible thing we can take. Even some actions that may need, we got to fix this before we do this, but you don't put any time or weight to them. That comes when you start to converge and you start to say, these are the actions we're going to start with. And when you do that, you use this grid that we've come up with by saying, who's going to do, what is the action? Who's going to do it? When will it take place? And who checks? And then we further sort these ideas into loose framings of short-term actions, mid-term actions, and long-term actions. And those terms are purely dependent on what's the deadline, what's the final proof of concept, when does this need to show up and be done? And you work backward to say, if it's 3 months, maybe short-term is a week. Maybe you need to get some real proof of concepts happening in a week before you get to the stronger solutions. And if it's a year from now, you can figure that out as you need to. And so what does that look like for the wolf and the Red and Granny creating these action steps? So what he ended up doing was eat some plants so he doesn't die, make a peace offering to Red and Granny, catch some easier things to eat, and do some fun things in the wood with Red. And there's the Wolfman by when, as soon as possible. And the Wolfman's sister, who is a new character, we just introduced her here, is going to be checking on him to make sure he gets this done. In the midterm, set some ground rules with the woodsman, share what I catch, and have Granny cook what I catch, and teach Red how to navigate the forest. And there you have it. And they all lived happily ever after. By the way, The woodsman the wolf brought the woodsman, Granny, and Red to CPSI a few years ago, and they now have a side business of facilitating in addition to their theme restaurant. That was a real sprint to go through it. So let's just take a little break, and let's hear what your thoughts are, questions. We'll talk a little bit, and then we're going to get in and have a little fun brainstorm, a little more personal to you, but similar to what we did for the Avengers. What are your thoughts, impressions? What were your feelings while I was going through it? Let's have it all.
Tony, a couple things have come up in chat, and they were addressed, but just if you want to do some additional stuff. Somebody said, and I'm scrolling back and I can't find it, pluses and potentials seem very, very similar. And we had a lot of the answers have been like, yeah, they do overlap, and sometimes they get compressed, and sometimes they can be, sometimes they're like just subtle shades. Sometimes they can be big differences depending on the nature. But is there anything else you would like to talk about the partnership of pluses and potentials?
Well, I have a very easy way to tease that apart. And the first thing is you could restate pluses, and there's the tool is now known in other acronyms, and I can't remember what they are. Maybe you could share what the common one is currently, but that's kind of what I came up with. And there was one even before me, like ALOU or something like that. Point is, but let's just go with pluses and just say, what do you love about it? Let's just throw that out there. And if there's silence in the room, I think you're going to need to go back. But if people start reeling ideas off, oh, we love this, it's going to be, the theme restaurant, we're going to challenge Hard Rock Cafe, and blah, blah, blah. If people are going a mile a minute, you then kind of feel comfortable that you have a strong, powerful, motivationally driven idea. Potentials is kind of the stem there is it might or it will, but it could also be used to just drop in the criteria of what are the parameters of the problem, the world that you're working within, your organization, your department, your team, your community. Who do we have? And you look at the basics of resources, people, materials, and funding. How did that fit in there? Then you could start to get a little real. And that might actually lead you to concerns to answer that question. So that's one way to tease it apart.
Another question was the potential solution statements. Is that to reframe the ideas into a headline?
I think that's a good way to capture it. These are all headlines of sorts, but you're noticing that from the headline, you're then again going back out and diverging. What it's helping you do is sort of put a little bit of a corral around your intent, but notice again how the intent changes from a wish, which is just like, someday my dreams, my prince will come, and a wish to a question, which begs an answer, to a determined solution, to an even more determined solution. So there is those headlines, but notice the different energies that go with each one of those. They're purposefully designed that way. Yeah, Joette just threw up all the other ones that are out there, and frankly, what you saw me go through was just about 3 or 4 tools beyond the foundation of Diverge and Converge. There's hundreds and hundreds of tools, and spoiler alert, you can invent your own, make up your own stuff, and watch the group you're working with and have fun with them. Make this fun. I hope you had fun watching this. Your situation, your brainstorming, build a lot of fun into it, a lot of breaks, bring food and beverages along, and give people a lot of comfort, because it's kind of hard work. It's kind of tough. You know, if a plus is 100%, if a plus is 100%, potential may be 75. So the next pro I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's that sort of thing of sticking with novelty on the converge side, is where you look at something and you say, this doesn't quite feel right, but I don't want to let it go. There's where you start to get into some discussions around how to make it go from 75 to 100. Very good point, Harry. Leo, I agree with you. And frankly, if you don't know this, design thinking is built solidly on these steps. And they cite it in the literature of design thinking. The difference in design thinking is that in the data gathering step that I shared today, they have empathic research. There's other words for it, but it's basically where they do the deepest dive of data gathering that you might imagine around a product or design. And then when you get to your solution stage, develop the solution stage, you're looking to create a prototype other than just something Post-its on a piece of paper. And it could be anything. It could be more paper designed to let it look 3D, all the way up to all but proof of concept. I would say it's an evolution, and I would stick with Sid's framing, is that he stays open to all processes. So we embrace design thinking, and CPS continues to evolve as well. And there's some challenges in design thinking as well, because how do you fund these empathic research projects? And do you know enough about empathic research to do it well and proper? That's one of the biggest challenges that I've read in my own research of design thinking. So the CPS process is portable. And in fact, I have something Beth will share. I'll see if I can pull it up before the end of the session. What you just saw me walk through is a version of Fast CPS. And I created this. It's a template that you can on paper just walk through what you just saw me do on your own and try it. And that is literally what Sid told me to do in his book. He goes, I hope this, what I found in the book Optimize, and that's what I've suggested people do, is look at the book Optimize, Magic of the Mind. I hope you just come up with some ahas. You know, a lot of people mistake CPS as a magic wand, the be all and end all. You're going to solve all your problems in one session. Andrea's shaking her head. I love it. It's a process, and you know the arrows for the process says that what you really want to do is change your mind into thinking more like this, so that you're more engaged in, okay, that didn't work. What do we do now? What's next? Where do we go from here? You want a magic wand? This is it. It's a pencil, or it's a colored pen. It's a marker. The point is, Sid told me this. If you write something down and you put positive energy toward it, you will achieve some version of it. So let's get to it. Any other thoughts or questions before we?
There's been a lot of commentary about design thinking, because you know, design thinking and CPS are best buddies like forever. So Beth Miller dropped in a CPS and design thinking thing that Dwayne Wilson, our media past president of CEF, put together.
But what do for the people that are seeing this for the first time? What was your impression of this, and what does it feel like as you saw it for the first time? Yeah, it can feel that way. Overwhelming. I remember my first CPSI. I was like, and Beth is holding up that book. It basically takes this process. It uses some older language, but it leads you through in a very deliberate way. And you can read and reread those chapters. And I'm gonna actually go and look while people are answering that question. Let's see what's going on here. See if I can find that that fast CPS piece easy. Unless you have it, do you guys have it somewhere?
I'll do a looky-loo.
Here it is.
Okay.
All right, I'll have it up in a minute. Let's see what else people are saying about this. What if? How am I love HMI. And that's the other thing is a lot of people that I've trained said, well, I love using this tool, or I love using that tool. And to me, any of it is a way in. And what I learned is that I eventually adopted a stance of creativity. You know, I say that we're habit-driven people for good reason, so that we can remember where to go to work every day and do the tasks that we're hired to do on a daily basis. But that then becomes a bit of the thing we have to shrug off when we're trying to think for something new. And there's the phrase from Einstein: you cannot solve a problem with the information you have at the moment you realize you have the problem. This CPSI process literally is all the information you need after you realize you have a problem. And the other point is CPSI needed for everything? Do you need CPS to say, how could I design a new route to go to work? I think you could just figure that one out. I like to say that CPSI is best used for the thorniest challenges. And ones that you really, like you said, the 3 I's. Is it important to you? Do you have influence over? Do you have influence over solving it? And would you like some imagination to figure it out? Okay, I'm gonna a little distracted. I'm gonna find that file and put it in here in a second. So let's just get to this.
The fast CPS file?
Yeah.
You go ahead and do presenting. I got you.
You got it?
I got you.
Great. All right. So we're going to get that up in a second. So let's get back to the show. Now we're going to have you play again in the field, and I'm going to introduce something that here we go. Let's go back. There it is. Besides CPSI, there's the school that I mentioned at Buffalo State College, the International Center for Studies in Creativity, soon to be known as the Center for Applied Imagination. And there is another professional group that actually grew out of both CPSI and the school. The current chair of the center, Dr. Gerard Puccio, invented a assessment that looks at the 4 stages of creativity: clarify, ideate, develop, and implement, and finds where people tend to want to hover in their personality. You know, the person that's always in the meeting. Well, what about this? What about that? What about this? Those are the clarifiers. And, you know, and then the person that has 1,000 ideas, but no idea how to do any of them. Or the person says, why are we still sitting here? Let's go, let's go. There's the implementer. What Foresight has found, and it's been, this measure has been used millions of times across some of the world's biggest companies across the world. It actually shows teams that the implementer is a good person, the ideator is a good person, the clarifier is a good person. Let's use their skills as a team and become stronger as a team. Let's respect each other So if you're not the clarifier, you get to sit back and watch the clarifier. So what I'm going to get to is that there is a community, and if you're interested in learning about the assessment, go to foresightonline.com, and Beth will put that in the in there, and you can learn about, and you can actually be trained in that assessment if that's something you want to add to your professional portfolio. But they also have what I would call is the next biggest professional community after CPSI and the school of creativity professionals. And we get together often. They're putting webinars of learning on a weekly basis. They just switched to a monthly, but all year round, they are putting all kinds of webinars on about this. And why am I telling you all this? Well, we're going to go right into one of the things they created, which is called the Innovation Station, which is an online version of the CPS process that I just walked you through. So that would be another benefit, that if you got involved with Foresight, you would eventually have access to using the Innovation Station for yourself. It's still kind of in a beta stage, but it works pretty nicely. And you're going to see it where we're going to have a problem that we're going to help you with right now. Because I'm going to say, well, why not try and use CPS to help you get on the track to having this be a really terrific and powerful experience. So you're going to supply the ideation toward that. And my able-bodied wing Mike is going to be the control center on the Innovation Station, and the others are going to help gather the ideas. And we're just going to ask your love and forgiveness. We got a little more time than I thought, so we have some time to play with it. You're going to put your ideas in the chat when I say go, when you see what the problem statement is. And they're going to gather up your ideas, and you're going to see them come up in this Innovation Station, and as an example. And a couple of points. We're probably going to limit it to 30 ideas just because we haven't tried this before. And then we're going to diverge on those 30 ideas, and you're going to do that as well. And I'll walk you through those instructions at the same time. But the interesting point here is that if you see lots of ideas and your idea or other ideas that you like didn't make it onto the Innovation Station, if you go to the chat and you click the 3 dots, you can save the chat and go back and grab all the ideas, because here's what we're going to be playing with in the statement. Oh, I didn't even. Well, guess what? I'm going to just go in here, and I didn't even think to write it here. It's on the Innovation Station, but let's just get to it. Forget my typing. I'm not a good typist. So we're going to ask you, and the wording will be slightly different in the Innovation Station, but how might CPSI be the best experience ever? There we go. One back. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and Mike's going to share his. And here's what I want you to do. I want you to ruminate on that question. I know you came to CPSI with a lot of intention, a lot of ideas, a lot of thoughts, a lot of wishes. If you could scroll up a little bit, Mike, and show what that challenge statement is. How might I make this a most enriching, this being CPSI, a most enriching and fun experience? Let's go. We've got about 50 people in the chat. Let's have your ideas. This is for you, because you're going to take this away and plug this into your experience over the next 3 weeks. What was your thought on why did you register? What was your wish to when you registered for CPSI? What did Stephanie tell you to do? Write that down. What do you want to know about creativity? What do you want to leave with? What do you want to know about imagination? What would you love to tell someone when you leave CPSI? Who do you think you'll meet here? What would be the most unexpected thing that could happen? What risk will you take? What new things do you think you'll try? What habits will you work on? What do you think you might learn about yourself? Great output, everybody. Really powerful. Keep them coming. What does trust the process mean? I know you got 30 in you. That's less than one per person. How about everybody, every single person put whatever they're thinking right now in the chat. Even if I don't have an idea. Lots of good stuff. Lots of ideas. What kind of person would you love to come away knowing at CPSI? What one conversation would you love to have? What are you going to dream about after each session at night?
All right, Mike is almost full. Furiously copying and pasting.
He's doing a great job, isn't he? Let's give it up for Mike. And there we go. You can keep ideas coming. And like I said, everyone's free to just grab the chat by clicking the 3 dots in the chat, and instantly saves to your computer. Now, here's what we'd like you to do to help us diverge. We're going to have a pencil and paper ready in front of you, or something to mark with. Mike is going to go back up to the top of the list, and I'm going to have you, when we're done, enter 3 numbers in the chat. But you're going to scroll down and write down your top 3 number, like your top ideas, and maybe start to lean on, I really love this, I really love this. And you could write down as many numbers as you want, but you got to end up picking just 3. So maybe we'll go through the list twice. But as he scrolls down, read the ideas and pick what you feel are most interesting that you'd love to see carry forward. And we're going to have a nice view of the converge and see what you as a group are determining as the strongest thoughts on how to make this CPSI an enriching experience. So once he gets to 30, I want you then to start entering your top 3 numbers in the chat. And maybe what I'll have him do is, when he gets to 30, I'll have him go back up and scroll through again. We're doing good on time here. So let's do that, Mike. So write down all the numbers that really strike you as these are really cool, powerful, useful, helpful, positive. We have a converger here. I think Beth is going to be the auditor here on this one. Okay. Mike's down to 30. Why don't you go back up and scroll through again? Great idea production, folks. So now pick your 3 ideas that really strike you that you want to jump into the chat. Just drop 3 numbers, one after the other in the chat. Put a little space between them if you could. Here they come. Great job, everybody. Here come those ideas. How you doing in auditing, Beth? Everything okay? How are we doing? We still waiting on it. I think we got a lot here. We got any more? Give us a thumbs up if you're still adding an idea. I think we're good. We're just going to now have Beth compile the ideas, and I think we're going to come up with the top 5. And Beth is going to put those numbers in the chat. And then Mike is going to use the, show you a little bit about the magic of this innovation station on the Foresight site. Foresight site. Great group of people. Sarah Thurber is married to Blair Miller, who Blair took the process with Gerard and turned it into what it is today. And Sarah and Blair are the owners of the Foresight organization. They got an amazing team of a lot of CPSI veterans working and graduates from the center working with them. And they're doing really tremendous work for our trade of creativity in our industry. I really can't say enough about it. So just go in and look around. There's a lot of cool content just to look at. Okay, 7, 11, 15. Yeah, you want to throw the next 2 in, or does it drop off quickly after that?
And 16.
I think I'm going to give Beth a wild card and say, I want you to throw in, you know, because I'm always the guy that's saying, well, let's consider novelty. Let's throw in 1 or 2 The poor orphans that got little or no votes. Aw.
You want me to pick my favorite?
Maybe just one, and we'll make this happen. So we're getting close to wrapping here. So let's just see what it looks like.
23.
All right. B23, bingo in the back. And Mike is now going to save and converge. And he's going to quickly click on which ideas made it to the top.
5, 7, 11, 15, 16, and 23.
Oh, you got nice. Your thoughts are being, it's such a cool vibe. All right. So let's see what it looks like when he says converge. So there you see all the ideas that came to the top from all of your points. Learn new tools, learn the latest and greatest facilitation methods, help enable teams to be more creative as a facilitator, learn to be comfortable being uncomfortable. There you go. Learn new technology for ideation, lots of colored pens, and draw your ideas. Who remembers the word of this session? Put it in the chat. Good job. And maybe with just a symbol or thumbs up, do you feel like you're a little more open after seeing this and seeing how this works a couple times?
I can see a tally of how many thumbs up because of my superpowers, and also it's like we're hitting like 7, 8, 9, 10.
Sweet. Well, let's we got a couple minutes left. Let me answer any further questions, or I'd love to get your thoughts, because if you could, thank you, Mike. You could share the screen back to me, and we'll just kind of wrap it up.
I'm trying to look to see if there's any questions in chat, and right now it's all ideas. I'm scrolling back.
So what just happened? What was interesting? What was expected? What surprises? What are your concerns? What are your questions? Let's hear it.
Well, that was jam-packed, Anthony. However, it really was, but I am really looking forward to unpacking it. And I put this in the chat, but you did a brilliant job of putting everything together and giving us a lot to unpack. So thanks.
Thank you, Joette. I'm flattered from hearing it from you as a fellow colleague and teacher. Any other thoughts or questions? What would you love to learn more about, or baffling?
I love the use of the equipment from putting these things together so quickly. I found that fascinating. Plus, you did a great job of explaining it. It was very clear and very interesting, and I hope people are invested in getting more and more out of it. Thanks so much, Tony.
Well, thanks. How do you, let me just ask, how do you feel that this was a good, we call this springboard. Is this a good springboard into your CPSI experience now? Do you feel like you at least know when people start talking about diverging, converging, and post-its and PPCOs and different acronyms and ideate, and do you feel like you're going to have a little bit of a sense of the language now at least?
I think they will, and I think they need to understand that there's many outlines of this. It's not that hard to remember because you can find it in many places. So just look for it and see it, and you'll learn the different parts as you need them. It's a fascinating process, and it works.
Well, we've got a few more minutes, and if you want to play with me, I got one more thing. If you want to play one more thing that I like to leave people with, and whoever wants to play along, I'm going to stop sharing my screen here because I want to see everybody. A lot of people still have their camera on. If you don't and you want to put it on, if you have a writing instrument nearby and a piece of paper, I'd like you to do this. If you got it nearby, I want you to write your name with your non-dominant hand. Okay? Don't spend any more than a few seconds on it. Get it done. And then do this. I gotta step. Hold it up and someone get a screenshot of that.
Three, two, hold it up. One.
Well, we got some pretty ambidextrous people there. If you did it, put it in the chat on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being not so well and 10 being the best. How well do you think you wrote your signature out? It's 1 to 10. -2. Well, we got a lot of 5s and belows. We got some 7s and 9s. Well, here's what I want to tell you is I'm going to give every one of you, first of all, because you're here at CPSI, I'm going to give every one of you a 10. And it's not that participation award that they give the third string shortstop in Little League. To me, the 10 is that you are agreeing that this is an exercise of your imagination. I want you to keep that signature handy and start to see what else you can see in that signature besides your name not so well written. What else can it be for you? To me, this is a cityscape through a fog. It's a bunch of rocks balancing on a stream side with a feather on top. How many more things can you make that be? That is what we're doing here. We're stretching our imagination, and that imagination stretched leads us to this creative problem-solving solutions. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Tony. As always, the fantastic job. We have a couple minutes if there's any questions that you have. If not, we're going to, we will then end recording. You'll get a couple minutes. I want you to know at 11 o'clock, meet back on this link for the amazing Kim Marie McKernan and some appreciative inquiry information that will be participatory. So yes, Tony is the consummate professional. He is. Thank you all so much for your participation and your enthusiasm. And we loved having you here. And a special shout out thanks to Wing Mike and Faith, who've been rocking behind the scenes.
Yeah, Mike really put it out there for doing the innovation station. A lot of mechanics going on behind the scenes there. Thanks everybody, Wing Faith and Mike and Beth. I know you had a little bit of fancy footwork coming into CPSI, so amazing job. And I just love so much being a part of this.
Anything for you, Tony. I minored in dance in undergrad, so I can tap around things.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, we look forward to seeing you at all the different sessions that we have today. This is just the beginning. We've got some poetry and photography. We've